Good day and welcome to today's Wellteq Digital Health Inc. webcast as part of the Planet MicroCap Showcase. It is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your host, CEO Scott Montgomery and Executive Director Brian Leaners of Wellteq.
Thank you for that handover. It's great to be here. I'm Scott Montgomery, Wellteq's CEO, and we've got Brian Leaners here. I firstly just want to acknowledge your attention in this highly competitive landscape of opportunity at the moment, especially in our growing space of digital health, which we're going to talk you through. So very quickly, as a brief introduction to Brian and myself, I come from a health background. I'm an exercise physiologist and have worked through training elite athletes. If any of you have followed the game of rugby union, which is basically NFL without pads and helmets, I was training part of the All Blacks team in the early 2000s prior to the World Cup, all the way through to musculoskeletal rehab and prehab clinical work. The foray into insurance, and then I co-built and sold one of Australia and New Zealand's largest workplace health companies, putting people, health professionals in workplaces. So come from a background of B2B and population healthcare. Brian, I'll hand over to you for a quick introduction and then we can get into the very exciting Wellteq story. We may have lost Brian there. I'll keep going. So we've got Brian Leaners, who is up in Ontario, is an executive director of the company. And Brian comes from a legal and a commerce background and the IoT industry, working both functionally and the CEO of tech companies from the late 90s, coming through into an Internet of Medical Things specialty over the last 15 or so years. So the company Wellteq is what we're here to talk to you about today. We are a digital health platform for corporates, being employers, insurers, and ultimately for broader healthcare. We are coming off the back of a momentous 2020 with a year-on-year growth of revenue up 85%, a high gross margin in the business of 76%. We're a digital-first solution. And across our over 8,500, nearly 9,000 users, again, year-on-year growth. We're a lean operation, burning last year just under $50,000 a month in total. So that with the tailwinds of a very, very, very buoyant digital health industry, led by the very publicised and very successful deal, success story of Livongo, having entered into the public markets in mid-2019 to an exit in their Teladoc acquisition for just under $19 billion. So them with some Canadian stars as well, with Well Health, with CloudMD, are starting to bring technology into the healthcare system, which is a part of our angle as well. So the problem that we are looking to resolve for very quickly here was within healthcare. We have a system that is built for reactive and for acute care, not for the prevention or the remediation of chronic lifestyle-related illness. So people are getting sicker, they're getting sadder, and they're getting more stressed, and we don't have the coaching support or the proactive support to help get ahead of that risk. The healthcare system is in an unsustainable state right now, and we need scalable solutions to get ahead of that risk. The multiplier of the pandemic is very clear. Health is now a higher priority to everybody, literally, around the planet. And so they're far more motivated than previously to be proactive with some of their health habits. And that's where a solution like Wellteq comes in. We are a smartphone experience for a user, and we're an analytics platform for our corporate payer, being the employer and the insurer. We utilize a myriad of technology tools to help coach our user through healthy habit improvement. So we have three main stages currently within our product. We profile via a mixture of clinically validated instruments of mental health, of physical health, of clinical history, of attitudinal and environmental-based information, and then we overlay that with wearable data with other partner technologies, such as one that you can take a photo with our application and understand your body fat percentage and circumference measurements in the form of a 3D avatar. So that profile is being used to empower what is our personalization engine. So a coupling of data science, of computer science and health science, and we deploy content in a gamified, incentivized manner to help coach people through a very specific goal. It may be sleep improvement, stress remediation, activity improvement, weight loss. We coach people via a nudging engine to encourage them for their specific or their desired outcome. Now, with all of the data that we have here, we can now stratify our population or our audience against single risk factors or multiple comorbidity factors. And of those in the medium or higher risk category, we can then introduce a proactive form of telecare. So we can say, John Smith, you've got a higher reading across an increasing stress profile. We suggest you either speak to your physician or you can book in with one of our partners here. And so it's an early detection based on habit, attitude, and biometrics. And then that brings an opportunity of a consult to the person. So we're bringing healthcare to our patient or user rather than waiting for them on their own volition to carve out some time in their busy schedule and get in to see a health professional. That works very well for our telehealth providers because we're bringing their system users, and we're also bringing a daily or regular utility to a health system that otherwise might be used a few times a year. It's not every day that you go and see your GP or your psychologist, but it is if you're earning rewards or you're getting daily coaching and community benefits. So all of that data that is accumulated, we can then interpret and then provide anonymized and de-identified group information or insights back to our corporate payer. So it's very important here that the individual information is not available. It's not shared at any point in time. However, when you cluster insights together, you can understand trends. So this part of your company is reducing in sleep duration. This part of your company has an increasing stress profile. This part of your company has a higher risk of cardiovascular disease risk or history. And it's from there that we can then further personalize that programmatic nature of engagement for better health outcomes. So the three main use cases we have here are the individual. We have HR or people and culture divisions of employers, and then we have the insurer. So the individual is now looking for a more comprehensive, more personalized, more localized way to get out of bed in the morning for activity, to understand some of the anxiety or stress symptoms that may be manifesting, and then especially when they couple together with 1, 2, 3, or 4 risk factors, then it's making sense of what they should do first. The HR division, with the working from home status of so many employees around the world now, or the hybrid or flexible adjusted working environment, actually need to offer some of this information back to their teams to help them protect themselves as best they can with credible, clinically validated information in a very easy to understand and digest manner or language. There's also the rapid rise of behavioural health or mental health complications that are starting to come in and become more symptomatic. Now, we also know that insurance companies derive substantial financial benefit from offering wellness engagement to their policyholders. And John Hancock in the US have very publicly and very proudly shown that through the use of wellness engagement with their user base, they have extended lifetime premiums or annual lifetime premiums between 13 and 21 times per policyholder. And also of those premiums, they've got a higher profitability because hospitalization costs have been reduced. So it's a very economically savvy business proposition to offer wellness to an insurance population. And we have 2 insurance companies that we offer this solution for this year and are deploying out to their millions of users. So we historically have worked for companies to offer solutions to their employees. And that's across over 30 countries, 12 languages across Asia Pacific. We're industry agnostic, and we give back, or we represent back to those employers some of the benefits. Everything's digital and therefore measurable. So fatigue, alcohol reduction, stress reduction, sleep improvement, activity extension. These are all measurable benefits that we can demonstrate back to our corporate customers. The ecosystem that we operate for is with the user in the middle. So we can coach them towards better habits, which then accumulates better outcomes, and then in turn, doing that for more and more people derives populational benefit. Our application is 24/7, our coaching bot is personalized, and then those benefits go back to the employer and the insurer in the form of reduced absenteeism, of reduced insurance claims and costs and frequency, in the form of better culture, employee retention, and then for the healthcare system, we're bringing a more empowered, more informed consult via some of the data-driven and the proactive approach to primary care and ultimately government healthcare. Our customer acquisition strategy is three-pronged. So we have a direct sales workforce that we're investing more than 10 times what we did last year in 2021 to directly build out new corporate customers. We have resellers in the form of Willis Towers Watson, in the form of Garmin within Asia Pacific, and with NAVCO, a Philippines distributor, to take the Wellteq proposition and sell it to their corporate customers, and they get a commission for that, so they're incentivized for that. We also have the third channel, which is our white label partners. Now, these are white label solutions, so our technology, Wellteq technology, badged as our corporate customer, then in turn offered to their consumer. And that's in the form of 2 insurance companies across Australia, the 2 of the largest 3, NIB and Bupa, and then a corporate health specialist in GU Health. The regions that we operate in are unique. So we are in 12 languages across 32 countries, mainly centering in and around Asia Pacific. This business was founded, has been operating in Singapore for 7 years. And so that nucleus of Asia is a very, very powerful, it's the right geolocation to build such a business. The population volumes around Asia Pacific are substantial, and the industry has a low corporate health penetration rate of only 5%, compared that to broader North America of 55%. So there's a 10 times saturation differential between those 2 regions. So we're coming from arguably one of the most diverse markets in the world out to the bigger, more mature spenders. We'll get Brian to speak quickly around the Internet of Medical Things and our continuum of care, because it's here where the multiplier is of value, of reach, and of impact.
Thanks, Scott. At Wellteq, we're leveraging the Internet of Medical Things, the IoMT, to fast-track our capabilities within what we call condition management and primary clinical care. We call this Wellteq Plus. The Wellteq mobile application, as Scott has spoken to, is a wellness platform developed for use by everyone. The Wellteq Plus platform is an open standard virtual primary care platform. Together, the Wellteq app and the Wellteq Plus IoMT platform follow the user across the continuum of care from wellness to virtual primary care. Virtual primary care involves a redesign of how care is actually delivered. Participants in virtual primary care programs have a longitudinal relationship with an individual physician who is available to them virtually. They also have been integrated into a larger team of care providers, health coaches, dietitians, therapists, specialists, etc., that are able to virtually shepherd these individuals through their day-to-day healthcare needs. These models over time will build in more devices and remote monitoring capabilities, helping provide better tracking and patient management outside the walls of the practice, enabling the delivery of more proactive and personalized care. At Wellteq, we've developed our own health hub to support the data capture from multiple devices and sensors deployed in a hospital, clinical, or remote setting, providing virtual care that is setting agnostic. The mobile phone is great to connect 1 or 2 devices and their relevant applications like wearables, but breaks down when the number of devices and applications related to those devices starts to multiply, as it does in primary care solutions. Visualize a patient in a hospital with multiple devices capturing their specific personal data, and you can see how the mobile phone fails in this use case. Functionally, our hub acquires patient data from any number of devices and sensors and through natural language processing capabilities. We have a resident application layer that aggregates this device data into applications residing either in the hub or up in the cloud. In this process, we're building out a mass of high-quality data for use in analytics, functionality, and building towards diagnostic and prediction capabilities as we train our databases. We also feed this data back through a loop to the smartphone app to take full advantage of our proprietary coaching algorithms to provide personalized recommendations based on clinical metrics. This is the care side of the preventive care continuum and really distinguishes Wellteq and its technology solutions from other digital health companies.
I think this continuum of care if it's two or three things to remember, this is one of them for us. So we operate across the full continuum of care by the end of this year. Our hub will be in clinical trials later this year. We have already the footprint of wellness and prevention and triage escalation into telehealth, and we'll be releasing our capabilities around condition management and outpatient care or remote monitoring as the year progresses. Now, if you take that continuum of care and put that into the grander expansion plan or the growth plan of the business, geographically and functionally, you can start to see the potential of the technology that we've built. So corporate wellness is currently, prior to COVID, was a $50 billion industry in itself. That's rapidly grown since the pandemic. That's forecast to be nearly $100 billion in 2026. So that little black dot is still a $100 billion industry in a matter of 4 or 5 years. We're already operating as a leader across Asia Pacific in corporate wellness. We're already powering insurance companies direct to policyholders with our technology across Asia Pacific. So we're into the early phases of stage 2 in that plan in this part of the world. With this database that is building, we're able to better stratify and offer more targeted solutions to certain afflictions and goals. And that then offers us the opportunity to connect virtually with those high-risk people to offer a teleconsultation or a more targeted solution, ultimately bringing primary care to the individual rather than waiting for them to go into a clinic to see someone else. Now, by doing that, we can then demonstrate that we have early detection, early intervention, and highly accessible solutions offered to people. That is the way that healthcare is going. The way of going into a clinic and waiting to be seen and being given a prescription is turning. And so that will be different in the years to come. Now, we can go relatively easily into new markets and through the relatively unregulated space of corporate wellness, and then we go deeper into the more relevant markets with that escalated level of care. So our revenue streams are fourfold. We have the SaaS through our user base, so a subscription-based revenue stream, which is the majority of our revenue currently. We have a data analytics function that is monetized. We unlock different levels of insight to our corporate payer, depending on their level of maturity, sophistication, and their willingness to pay. So the more they pay, the more correlative or complex insights we unlock. Thirdly is any of the partner goods or services that we sell through the platform, we add a margin to. So if that's a Garmin wearable, if that's a teleconsult, if that's a blood test, we have a small margin. And then fourthly is if there's an additional piece of adaptation, we have a consultancy day rate that we attach to that work. Our team is world-class. We have formulated one of what we believe is certainly the North America's leading medical specialist as our Chief Medical Officer. We have an incredibly talented Chief Technology Officer and architect of both software and hardware solutions with experience across Fortune 500 all the way through to bleeding edge startups. Our Chief Product Officer is a data science. We are a data-driven business, and we can only truly say that because our entire product is governed and designed by a data scientist. And our Chief Growth Officer, he was the sales director that built the company that is the international arm of what is now Virgin Pulse, the largest corporate wellness company in the world. Our board is chaired by Dr. Peter Vaughan, who is currently the chairman of Health Infoway Canada, and steering us and navigating us through this rapid expansion, very exciting phase. So just in closing, we have great momentum for 2020 behind us. We have the strategy to invest a recent capital raise of $9.5 million, facilitated by Canaccord and by Gravitas, and we're putting that to use to put 10 times our expenditure into sales and marketing for expansion, to triple down into R&D, and to commence our M&A activity. And our strategic objectives are for double and triple year-on-year growth across all aspects of our metrics, and to increase intellectual property rights and expand that global footprint. So when you compare Wellteq against some of our industry peers, there are some very well-known successes in Livongo and Well Health Technologies and CloudMD and Dario Health and OnTrack with substantial valuations and successes behind them. We are coming into this as an opportunity with a very, very modest market cap of around about 20 million Canadian dollars, with 9 million in the can, in the tin, and we have a path towards profitability, so we do not anticipate an additional capital raise without substantial M&A opportunity. So thank you very much for your attention. Very happy to field any questions that may be out there. And our management team that volunteered their escrow for 3 years are very excited about this journey and love to answer any Q&A if there are any in the audience. Okay, one here around the Vitality program for John Hancock. How are we different? So we are a full continuum of care. We have a sophistication that is expanding out into the clinical model that brings about and it coordinates with multiple capabilities for a more informed consult. We have a function for wellness engagement for insurance companies, and we are doing that. However, the extended functionality of the business that's maturing out over the next few years via the hub, via the wearable, and via the coaching functions are fairly substantially different.
Scott, there's a question relative to your plans to expand into the U.S. Versus your plans to expand into other global geographies.
Okay. A very good one. We are expanding pretty much everywhere but the US as our primary focus. So there's a huge demand for international localization with different cultural capabilities, with different language sensitivities, and to be able to navigate the different, especially data privacy jurisdictions and capabilities. And that's the market that we're going after. The US has a very, very competitive and complex medical and insurance system, which is quite different to the major Commonwealth countries, which we're so very familiar with. And so the different payment system and the different incentivization is more akin to us for outside of the US initially. So it's an international focus as opposed to a fast track into the domestic US market.
And Scott, the next question is, what are the company's value catalysts moving forward?
What are the company's value
catalysts moving forward?
Value catalysts? Look, what we're building out here is if I've understood that question correctly, is the advancement and the sophistication around the personalised health coaching. We enter clinical trials and the development of real-world evidence, which is very valuable to a number of different industries, e.g. pharmaceuticals, and bringing in our Wellteq Plus product and solution into the healthcare system is probably the three main value multipliers or catalysts, if I've understood that correctly, for us over the next 12 months or so.
And then the last one.
Have you got anything to add to that question, Brian?
No, that's good. And the last one is, can you speak to the current valuation of the company as we're trading up in the Canadian public markets on the CSE?
Sure. So we have come on to the CSE, the Canadian Securities Exchange, circa 3 weeks ago. We're very well capitalised, and we've had some long-term shareholders looking for liquidity, which is a part of the process going public. So our valuation right now, our EV enterprise valuation, is under $10 million. And so given the momentum that we have, the data set that we have, the corporate partners that we have, we certainly won't be hanging around at this valuation for very long. The interest of the more sophisticated private funds and institutional desks are certainly looking for grander visions in the digitisation and transformation of healthcare, such as what we're up to.
And that's it for questions.
Fantastic. So just in closing, and it may be a minute or so early, but we can throw back. I just want to really acknowledge our gratitude for your attention to listen to our story. We're very excited. We've got some great traction, and we'd welcome any of the interests of the investor community on this call. So thank you for your attention and your time, and all the best for the rest of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. This does conclude today's webcast. Thank you for your participation and have a wonderful day.